Welcome to another video where I explain some depth psychology. And in this video I'm going to explain why you should never listen when somebody tells you that you can't do something. So let's just get right into it. Yesterday basically someone told me that I can't do something and it made me kind of mad. And so after the emotions settled and I was back to neutral, I just kind of analyzed the situation and just going to quickly explain to you what happens. So basically in their mind, they have two parts, same as your mind, the conscious mind and the unconscious. What's in your unconscious mind is completely unreachable, unattainable. It's like completely outside of your mind. Like it's as if it doesn't even exist from your perspective, from the ego's perspective. So anyway, in their unconscious mind is the belief that they can't do this thing, that what basically they think you can't do, what they're telling you that you can't do, they're unconscious that they actually can't do that thing. Or they have the belief in their mind, the attitude in their mind that they can't do that thing. So yeah, what's in the person's unconscious is projected outside. So an unconscious attitude that you have will be experienced as something that exists outside of you in the outside world. In this case, when they saw me, they projected this belief, this quality of not being able to do it onto me. And people will do the same thing to you, right? Now, what the key here to understand is what's called a conscious attitude. And so people will always tell you that they can't do something. Sorry, people will always tell you that you can't do something, but really they're actually talking to themselves, because that's what a projection is. A projection is a quality that's in somebody's unconscious mind, which is then experienced by them outside of themselves. So when they're saying you can't do it, they're really just talking to this part of their own personality that can't do it or fails, right? Now, what's key to understand is they don't know whether you can do it or not, right? They don't know whether they can do it or not. Like that's not a thing that really can be known. When it comes to something that's reasonable, I suppose. Anyway, so then the key to like not experiencing the anger that I felt is to keep in your conscious mind the belief that you can't do it, which seems counterproductive. But when you know that you can't do something, right, that is the situation. For example, when the person told me that I can't do something, it was about losing weight. And I've done it before and I'm doing it right now. And so there is a part of me that knows I can do it, but there's also a part of me that knows I can't do it. And I actually put out a tweet or an X post today where everybody knows that somebody else can't do something, because not doing something is so easy. Everybody can basically not do something. that's simple and easy to understand. But what is unknown is the upper limits of somebody's personality. So what you can achieve, the limit to what you can achieve is what's unknown and what is interesting to you, and also interesting to everybody else as well. So when I put them here, it's important to recognize that this same quality and activity, behavior, whatever you want to call it, is in you too, right? You can tell other people or believe that other people can't do something, but what that actually is, if that exists in your unconscious mind or your conscious mind, it will be projected outside. Now there's two parts to experiencing reality. There's projection and there's also the reality of somebody's situation, right? So when the fact that you can't do something is in your conscious mind, you're less likely to tell somebody else that they can't do something, because the situation in your mind is actually that you don't know, right? Because that is the situation. It's you're just more likely to say, oh, I don't know if you can do that or not, right? And that's why you generally aren't going to hear this kind of thing from somebody who's consciously integrated, which just means that they've learned and understood, or they've made this quality conscious, right? So they brought this unconscious content, something in their unconscious mind, they brought this content, something in the unconscious mind, into consciousness, right? Just as a side note, that's called a transcendent function when you do that. And what actually happens when you do that is you're expanding your consciousness, right? So you're something that was once unknown has now become known. Anyway, back to the topic. So why you should never listen when somebody tells you you can't do it. So basically, they just don't know whether you can do something or not. And when they're telling you you can't do it, they're just speaking to their own projection that they actually can't do it, right? Since they don't know and you don't know, you might as well believe you can do it and then try it and just see what happens. But also believe that you can't do it, because that is also true, right? That is a known quantity. We know that you can't do it, especially if you've never done it before. Just never try, never believe you can do it, and you can't do it. That's true, right? It's when you attempt to do it that you're gonna learn whether or not you can. And this is another thing that I'm wanted to bring up is we know you can't do it from the perspective of if you just don't try or never actually give it an attempt, you're never going to be able to do it, which means you can't do it. But what about if you actually tried your hardest, gave it everything you've got, and you still failed, and you still can't do it? Then do you believe that you can't do it? There is a situation or a scenario where that is true. However, there's a little kind of cheat, I guess. And it's this, right? If you want to do something and you don't know if you can do it or not, which means you haven't done it before, the key is that you can't do it alone. That's the key, right? If your limitation is you're limited by your own personality, your genetics, your situation, where you were born, there's all these limitations which are just kind of set. They exist, right? Your natural talents, your natural proclivities, your the actual what's called conscious orientation, which basically just means which function of your mind is most developed. So some people, there are 4 functions of the mind. So yeah, there are 4 functions of the mind: sensation, intuition, feeling, and thinking. So sensation is like your 5 senses and also other sensations. But just an example is sensation tells you something's there. So I'm sensing with my eyes and by touching that there's something there. Thinking tells me what that thing is, that it's a whiteboard. Feeling tells me whether it's agreeable or not, so whether I like it or not. If I'm touching a whiteboard, my feeling is kind of positive. I like this. It's just a positive feeling, which is like I'm attracted to it. A disagreeable feeling would be like you're repelled by something and you don't like it. Like, for example, being a snake or death, you generally have a negative feeling. And then intuition is a gut feeling or a hunch, which is a bit more complex to explain, but basically it's just information from your unconscious mind, which is inaccessible by consciousness, which is leading you to a certain direction. So it's like that. It's just that weird gut feeling that you get, which pushes you in a certain direction. So these are the 4 functions of the mind. But in basically every person, there's one dominant function, which is the main function that someone uses. For example, for me, it's thinking. So thinking would be in the person's conscious mind as a function. And then the other 3 functions are mostly unconscious. And they're less developed and less used by that person. So if you have 2 people and one's a thinking type and one's a feeling type, for example, then they're going to have completely different personalities, right? The structure of their mind is actually different. The functions are developed in different levels. Now, when I say type, just be careful about categorizing yourself or other people in types, because wholeness, or the purpose of your life, essentially, is to develop all these functions and bring them into consciousness. Over the course of your life, that normally naturally happens slowly, but even very old people generally just have one or two functions more fully developed, or sometimes three, but it's very rare without depth psychology to develop all four. Anyway, that's a side note. But back to this, is that so you're limited by your personality, the structure of your mind and personality as well, right? If you're a sensation type, or if, let's just say, a feeling type, thinking is going to be less adapted for you. Like, my right hand is very good at writing and very good at navigating the outside world, the physical world of material. My left hand is not as good, not as developed, right? I'm not using it every day. I'm not practicing with it. I'm not using it for all different types of tasks, like writing or cooking or juggling or weightlifting, right? I'm using my right hand for the most part for 90% of activities, right? And it's the same with your conscious functions, right? The one that you mostly use is going to be much more developed, and the ones that you don't use are going to be less developed. So that's one limitation you have. Now, when I said before that when you can't do something, when you discover that you can't do something, the key to actually doing that is just to get help, right? If you're a feeling type and you're trying to, solve math problems or do some kind of task which requires thinking, or let's just say thinking for now, you're going to be less adapted and not as good at it, right? Let's just say there was some very specific task that required very good dexterity and use of your right hand, and you're left-handed, right? You might suck at it, okay? But there's somebody out there who's extremely good with their right hand and athletic or dexterous, whatever you want to call it, with their right hand. Now, by getting them to help you, okay, that's how you can do something that you can't do, right? It's by getting help. And what happens is the quality of being athletic and good with your right hand exists in them, and it doesn't exist in you yet, right? So that is like, let's just say, right, this is you, and let's just say that's them for now, in this different example. Okay, so they're extremely good with their right hand, and you're really good with your left hand, right? Which means what's unconscious in you is the quality and the skill of being extremely athletic and dexterous with your right hand. And what's unconscious in them is the same thing, but in their left hand. So they're unconscious of using their left hand extremely well. Now, by putting yourself around them and by getting them to help you, okay, first of all, they can do it for you. And that is essentially the same thing as you doing it yourself. Secondly, they can, just by being around them, you're going to develop this quality because you're going to make it conscious in yourself. Right now, it's just unconscious in you. It just exists outside in the world, right? You might see it in another person, right? But actually, that's just projection. There is the element of reality beyond the projection, but a lot of it is just projection. And when you integrate that content into your own personality, into your own conscious mind, then the projection dissolves because you now see it in yourself. And you'll be less fascinated by the other person. So anyway, yeah, that's how you can do something that you believe that you can't do, is getting help, and also just not listening to people who tell you that you can't do it, because they're just talking to themselves. It's happened time and time again in my life where someone's told me I can't do something or I'm going to fail. And the worst thing you can do is believe it fully, okay? Because that conscious orientation looks like this, right? Where what happens in your mind is that you actually believe you can't do it. Sorry. Yeah, you actually believe you can't do it. Yeah, so that's what happens here, right? This girl told me yesterday that it's going to be impossible for me to lose weight and get fit and like fix my, not fix, but just impossible for me to lose weight, right? And she was obviously overweight herself. Anyway, yeah. So if you believe that, if you believe that, what happens is your conscious attitude is that I can't do it, right? Someone's told that you can't do something, then you believe, oh, I can't do it. They're right. And what happens is in your unconscious then is pushed the quality or the person, the quality or the attitude that you can do it. Okay. And this is where you experience, negative feelings and essentially neurosis, because there's a split in your mind. Because what your mind actually wants is for both of these attitudes to be conscious, right? Because that is the situation. The situation is that you can do it and that you can't do it. When you're conscious of both, then you can actually do it and you have more control, and you can see the truth of the situation. When you and then the other side of this is like when you believe you can do something, and in your unconscious, like if you fully believe that you can do something, and the idea that you can't do it is just completely non-existent, what will happen is you will start to see outside of you everybody telling you you can't do it, because you're not conscious of the fact that it is true. You actually can't do it. So you believe that everybody's doubting you and everybody's kind of holding you down and doesn't believe in you, when actually that's not necessarily the case. They might be telling you can't do it and projecting onto you, but the belief that if you are forcing yourself to believe that you only can do it, then the opposite attitude of that is that you can't do it, right? And that's not in consciousness. And so you're gonna experience that outside of you, and you'll also probably tell other people that they can't do something. Anyway, it gets a little bit complex. I don't want to go too deep into it, but just thought I'd quickly tell you that explain to you with depth psychology why. If somebody tells you that you can't do something, just know that you can't do it, and know that you can do it, or believe that you can do it, and just try and see what happens. And if you try and you actually do fail, right? First of all, know that failure is one of the steps to actually succeeding and being able to do it. But let's just say you seriously give it everything over 20 years and you still can't do it, then I was gonna say outsource, but just don't do it alone. Just get some help from someone who's done it, or get them to do it for you. Anyway, that's all for this video. Just thought I'd quickly get that out there. What I'm planning on doing now is just when I experience stuff or analyze stuff or come up with ideas, I'll probably just jump out the whiteboard and the texters and just quickly go over it and explain what I kind of figured out. I just got back from the gym and I'm not really all sexy for the camera, but I think that matters less than the value that I provide to you. So yeah, if that was valuable, hit subscribe, like the video, helps it get out to more people. And if you're interested in learning more about your mind and your personality, so the way that the 4 functions of your mind are actually oriented and how to use your unique personality to make better decisions, I'll also add in the description the link to my course, The 7-Day Decision Maker. You can check that out if you're interested. And yeah, that's all for now. I'll be posting videos every week, hopefully eventually every day. But yeah, just thought I'd get that one out there. So take care.